Okay, so today we are back again with the last portion of the listeners. Yes, so we shall complete the poem today. Now, remember where we had last stopped, and the poet uh, is perplexed, thoroughly perplexed, and in a confused state of mind. He makes a last attempt to call out and leave his message. He has come with a purpose, and we know that he has come to meet someone, to deliver some message. So when he sees no one, we had stopped at that portion. Tell them I came, and no one answered. That I kept my word, he said. Nevertheless, stir made the listeners. So the listeners, he is aware of their presence. So he is aware of their presence, but nevertheless stir. Stir means movement, no movement. He could see that everything was still, absolutely still. Even when he said that loudly, still there was no response from them. Though every word he spake, now we had stopped here, and spake is an archaic word, ARCHAIC. Archaic words are words which are no longer in use now. They are old-fashioned words. You know, the bell bottoms and those kind of pajamas, they were in fashion during Amitabh Bachchan's times. Yes, but now we don't have those. We have jeans, and we have pencil jeans and whatnot and other things. So these are, so bell bottoms are passé. So words which were used earlier, they are called archaic words which are no longer in fashion now. So spake is actually the word for spoke. Though every word he spoke, he says spake. This is Old English. Fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house. Now again and again, he is constantly trying to point out the fact that the house is still. Can the house move? Then how can the house be still? Obviously, house has to be still. But here it says, is he talking about the house? He is talking about the inmates in the house. Okay, so the still house, the house is still because there is no one there. It is silent, and nobody, though there are some ghosts, phantoms, but they choose not to respond. So therefore, it is a still house. And his words, when he is shouting, when do you hear an echo? When it's empty and there is a huge empty space, and when you shout, you get an echo. So here, fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house. Now this needs clarity, that it's very clear that the house is still. Why? Because nobody is responding. There is no movement inside, not a stir. Yes, and the house is huge. This is another way, this is another indication. When you hear the word echo, we are being told by the poet that it's a huge house, huge empty hall, and when he is shouting, he could hear the echo. Fell echoing through the shadowiness. Now why is there a shadow? Can there be a shadow without an object? No. Can there be a shadow without light? No. So which is the light that he is referring to? The moonlight. Clear? And when the moon is shining, and whose shadow is falling on the hall? Yes, it is the ghosts. He could not see it, but he could sense it. He could sense it. Though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house. He could feel the shadows in the house. Clear? So this is adding to the supernatural element. You feel scared. So is the traveler. Traveler is one of us. He is a human being. He belongs to the human world. Remember, what is he referred to? The world of men. He comes from the world of men. And the house that he has come to visit, does it belong to the world of men? No. Ghosts, a host of phantom listeners. It belongs to another world. Fine. So two worlds are meeting, and so there is no communication. One tries to communicate, but there is a total cut off from this end, and so this person, no matter how much he tries, this is constantly quiet, no response. So fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. He is the only living man there. Awake here means living. Awake doesn't mean that he is not sleeping. The others are sleeping. No, they are the permanently sleeping, the dead. The dead is people who are dead are sleeping permanently. Will they ever wake up from their sleep? Never. So all this is adding to the eerie effect of the poem. From the one man left awake. So it shows when you are when the poet is talking about the one man left awake, immediately we are conscious of the other world, other people who are dead. So there is a constant contrast going on between the world of men and the unknown world of the dead. I hope this is very clear to all of you. This is very, very clearly explained in each and every line of the poem. This is constantly repeated. So we need to be aware of that. Now, the last 4 lines. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup. Now, who is the they? The listeners. Who are the listeners? The phantom, the ghosts. They heard his foot upon the stirrup. Now, what is a stirrup? You can Google it and find out the image. It is, those who do horse riding, they will know better, that there is a stand on which you get up and sit on the horse. So there is a step, that is a stirrup. Fine. So, and they heard his foot upon the stirrup. So he's climbing on, and that is made of a metal. So when his shoes touch the stirrup, a sound is made. And why could you hear the sound? Because everything is silent. Otherwise, it's not a very big sound. It's not a bell. It's just a person mounting a horse. That will not make a very big noise, but the noise is enhanced in the absence of other noises around. Total silence. Yes. They heard his foot upon the stirrup. That means he's given up. He's going to go. He's fed up now. How long will we go on? He's standing here. He's knocked so many times. He's shouted so many times. He tried so many times. Still there was no answer. Now there is some end. Now he's getting agitated. So he's giving up hope now. And they heard his foot upon the stirrup and the sound of iron on stone. What is this iron on stone? Now the horse, the hoofs means the legs, the bottom part of the horse, that is the legs. The hoofs are made, are clamped with a shoe, a horse shoe, and that is made of metal. It's made of metal, and that is the stone that is the sound of iron. That is made of iron, and so that iron, when it is making a sound on the iron, on the stony platform in front of the house. See, the house has a slab of stone in front. There's a front porch, and then the forest is there. So when the horse is making that noise, when it starts moving, when it is starting to gallop, so you can hear the sound of iron on stone. The iron is the hoofs of the horse, which is covered with that iron shoe which the horse wears, and when the horse is galloping on the stone, means the stony pathway of the forest. And how the silence surged softly backward. So the hoofs are going away and the silence is coming back. The silence is restored in the forest. Again the silence envelops the forest. So silence surged softly backward. Now you use the word surging of the seas. A sea surges. Have you seen the waves of the sea? They come forward like this and then they move back. So it is the surge. Surge is when they come forward. Now the silence is surging. That means what? Silence is coming back. Why is it coming back? Because the man has left. Have you understood? This is a very beautiful imagery, and the poet wants to highlight it, and that is why he's used the alliteration of the sir sound. Silence surged softly. Why is it soft? Because it is silence. It will not make a noise. Yes. So silence is coming back tiptoe. Back again. Backward. Why backward? Because the horse is moving forward. Silence is coming backward. So beautiful, isn't it? When the plunging hoofs were gone. Hoofs of the horses. The legs. Goes and the silence comes back. Yes. So when the plunging hoofs were gone. So the traveler has left. This is the end of the poem. So what do we gain out of this poem? Did you get any answer? Name of the traveler? No. You don't get any answer. Second point. Do you know why he has come for? Why he has come? No. Number 3. What was his message? Did you come to know what message he came to deliver? No. Did you also come to know whom he wanted to meet? Nothing. All answers are incomplete. Why did they not respond to him? Whether they are able to respond to him or whether they are not able to respond. Did you come to know that? That also you don't get to know. Why did he give up and go away? That also you don't know. Where did he come from? Where is he going? We don't know. None of the answers. It is totally unanswered. So what do we get then? What do we get? That is the only answer. That is a great philosophy of life that the poet wants us to understand, that there is always this unknown factor in life. When a human being wants to find out the answers about the other world, not the world of men, but the other world, when you want to connect to spirituality, when you want to connect with people from the other world, means after death, what happens to life after death? If you want to know that, is it easy to get answers? No. This is the answer that the poet wants us to understand. That you will never get answers and you will never be able to connect with people of the other world. That is what is very clear here. No matter how much so the traveler here is a symbol of you and I, of humanity, of people in general, who are representing people in this world, in this material world. And who are those phantom listeners representative of? The ghosts, people of the other world. Is this much clear to all of you? Now, so people cannot, so this is one philosophy that comes to us here, that people cannot always find answers that they seek. Now, I want you to note down certain points. What are the supernatural elements which the poet is talking about here? Which all elements add to the supernatural thing? The first thing is the moon. The moonlight, twice he has mentioned about and the moonbeams falling on the staircase into the empty hall. Now, moon is always considered as a supernatural element. Why? Because of its high tide, low tide, it has a lot of influence on the human lives. Fine. So, moon is one of the elements through which he is weaving this supernatural setting to the story. Next, it's a dark night. The forest, setting of the forest, the silent forest, the dark night. Phantom listeners, number 3. Number 4, the sinister silence all around. Yes, the bird suddenly flying out of the turret, that jerks you, that startles you. That's another one. The traveler is from a world of men. Okay, he represents the world of men. So that makes us aware that the ghosts are not. Next, the intentional stillness of the listeners. Now, why are we talking about the intentional stillness? The listeners choose not to respond. Probably they could. Most probably, that's what we think. But they are not responding because the traveler senses that they are not interested. Fine. So the intentional stillness of the listeners, that is also adding to the eerie effect. The lone house, all alone. Can you imagine a forest with no one around and it is all lonely? And the poem concludes without leaving the readers any wiser about any questions lurking in your mind. I told you all the questions, none of the questions are answered. So the mystery of the world is such that it will not respond and it shall only listen. This is what we get to understand, that in this world there is a mystery all around us, and no matter how much we try, we are not going to get much of answers. We will only be confronted with silence. With silence. That is the helplessness of mankind. So he is actually showing an emotional state of mankind where he is totally helpless and there is a total failure of connection between one world and the other. So I hope this is complete. You have understood, and this is one of the finest poems of Walter de la Mare. Fine, because it's such a short poem, but it has so much of meaning. So much of meaning, and it adds he's painting a beautiful picture right in front of our eyes without, just by a few words, he has painted a beautiful picture, and we can imagine the entire scene of how the traveler came and how he tried to communicate and how he leaves totally helpless and frustrated. Fine. Next. So we will talk about the last portion in the, take out your books, page 63. Page 63 we had the last two questions, 1E. Which lines tell us that the traveler had made a promise that he would come to the house? So we said, tell them I came. So that line. Which word is repeated at the beginning and ending of the poem, and what impact does it have? Now the first thing, what is the first thing? Silence. Can you see? And his horse in the silence champed the grasses. So first is silence, and again in the last part again there is silence. So between one silence and the other silence, the traveler has made a lot of noise, and so the silence is restored back into the forest. This is very clear should be clear to everybody. And so we have done the other points, and we will do RTC. And okay, to that voice from the world of men, what could phantom listeners refer to? They would refer to the world of men from the world of ghosts. How does the poet make the listeners seem like real people? So only a host that dwelt in the lone house. So they are living in that house. So here it shows as though they were real people, but they were listening. They have this power to listen, and they are living. Dwelling means living in that house. Who is being referred to that voice from the world of men? Who is being referred? The traveler. So with this, and 4A, this was 4B that I discussed, and 4A, where he stood perplexed. And so who is being described? This is very clear. It is the traveler. And why is he perplexed? Because he doesn't get any answer from anywhere. So this is what you need to know. And so here there is one interesting exercise. I think you will have fun doing it. You can do it on your own. You don't have to submit it. It's on page 66. You could even do it in, as a game or something, and you could exchange your questions with another. Join up with another pair and take turns to ask each other the questions and make up answers. Like look at the poem again and come up with a list of 10 questions that you could ask about it. Who lived in the house, for example? So someone could answer the question. You can give each other some quiz games like that, and you could try that in the weekend. Fine. So I think this should be clear. I think you must be clear with the poem right now, and read the poem once again and go through all the 3 videos on this poem. And then if you have any further doubts, then I'm always there. All your teachers are there. They will clarify in the online classes. But with this we complete the lesson on the listeners. Fine. So we understand from the beginning to the end. The questions have also been discussed. The meanings have been told. Now you'll have to learn the list of meanings at the end of the poem. You'll have to learn the meanings and all the words and the figures of speech, especially alliteration. He has used a lot of alliteration and imagery. So these two you need to understand very, very well. Okay? So, bye students.